Real Talks with Rechie, Season 3, Episode 2. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Real Talks with Rechie. As we mark the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence and prepare for December 6th, Canada's National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women, we honor the memory of the 14 young women murdered at Polytechnique, Montreal in 1989. These women were murdered because of their gender and their ambition. The male engineering students were ordered out of the room, while the women were cornered and shot solely because they were women pursuing a high level of education. The Honourable Nathalie Provost, Member of Parliament, Secretary of State of Nature, and the survivor of Polytechnique shooting, has turned an unimaginable trauma into a life of accomplishment and service. She was a young engineering student preparing to deliver her final presentation of the semester when she was shot 4 times. She survived. She returned to finish her degree, she became an engineer, and she went back to Polytechnique to say, "You have not won, she is here." Nathalie, merci beaucoup pour votre service to Canada, and I really appreciate you taking the time. I know that this time of the year must be very challenging for you.
Merci. Merci de me recevoir. Thank you very much, Rechie. It's a pleasure, but it's also a duty, the duty to bear witness of what happened 36 years ago.
Yes, and you know, I've read all about your journey and what you've had to overcome to get here today. And I want you to share, if you can share with us, you know, your experience, how you went from that place, traumatic, dark, to where you are now. If you can share with us what kind of helped you get through that. You mentioned service.
It's a long story. It's a life story. So just in a few minutes, it's not it's not a simple story.
Oui.
I think that the first thing I'd like to remind all of us is that I was born in 1966 when everyone thought that everything was possible. And that's the way I was raised. I was raised also by a mother at home, but she always reminded me that I have to study and I have to be an autonomous woman, free, able to take care of herself by herself, not because she's married to someone else. That was major into my education. So when December 6th happened to me, going back to school, finishing my degree, and finding a job as an engineer was central to my life. I realize now that if it would have happened to my kids, I'm not sure I would not have the reaction to protect them. But where we were 36 years ago, my mother never thought about stopping me. She let me go back to school a month after. And today I'm so glad she did it, because when I get back to school, I was with friends, I was with people like me who understand what I was going through, who were not judging me or not overprotecting me. We were all together in it. That's the way I lived it. I know it's not the story of everyone, but that was a very major first step in my life. And now, looking back at where I was, I know that first step was central to me healing from that.
You are a true inspiration. Ma fille Cassidy a 10 ans. As a mother, and I hear your story, it must have taken your mom a lot of courage to trust that you're going to be okay, in terms of like letting you go back to school.
When I was alive, she had faith in me.
That's what I mean.
So that's, I was alive and I would heal. So for her, supporting me without conditions was okay.
Well, I'm very grateful. Shout out to your mom for giving you the courage to go back to school, and now you are here, and you were able to complete your degree. You were able to get into an engineering career, and so maybe if you can explain the pivot from engineering into then becoming such a strong advocate to fight against gender-based violence and how you were able to use your voice?
In my story, it's not about pivoting.
Okay.
Because I was involved as a student. I was a student leader. I was already involved in the student union in Polytechnique and in all with all engineering students across Quebec. Mm-hmm. So the fact that I was able to answer questions of journalists 2 days after the massacre, the femicide, it was not natural, but it was part of my path as a student leader. For me, it was important to speak about what students, what my colleagues thought. So I began there to be a public face, but I was before a student leader. So transforming to that student leader to a public face regarding the femicide of Polytechnique, it took me years to become an advocate because I had first to take care of myself and to create myself as a professional engineer. So for a long part of my life, I've only been an engineer and a survivor, but not a public face, even with what happened in 1989. And then 15 years ago, because I was stronger and because my older son asked me once, looking at a TV show, Mama, it was about Polytechnique, and Mama, why aren't you in that TV show? You should be. And I said, oh, because I have said everything I had to say right after, so journalists know. And he said, yes, but I don't know, Mama. You never really told me. I was shocked. Oh. So that's more than 15 years ago, but that's what brings me back to how important it is to bear witness, because you always talk to someone new, to someone who don't know what happened. So it's really important each year to take a moment and to remember what happened on that day, because people don't know.
Exactly.
Young ones don't know. And the memories of my classmates are so important and so alive in my heart. We have to take their dreams and to make it come true through other girls, for example.
Well, I have the honor of watching you speak in the House of Commons every day. And I'm so truly grateful that you are here and that every time you stand in that house, you speak your voice, especially when it comes to what our government is doing to take action against gender-based violence. So can you speak to how then, you've had this incredible life experience, and now that you're here as a parliamentarian, how you're using voice now to speak up and against gender-based violence?
I don't know if I will answer directly your question, but it's a question of value in me. So reminding that what we are doing as a government is important to fight against violence, gender-based violence, is natural to me because it's intertwined with my personal history. So I have to raise, and it's my duty to remind that it's important. We have to be strong for against gender-based violence, and I'm very proud of what we're doing. But we have to do more, and we also have to work closely with people everywhere across Canada, because gender-based violence is not just, again, about what our government can do. It's in our day-to-day lives. Mm-hmm. I met with the woman responsible in my constituency to fight gender-based violence, and what they are facing is complex. It's in individual stories. It's pushed with social network stories or visions or ideologies that are not always made to make people equal. It's important to raise in the House, but I think it's also important to remind all of us, all Canadians, that we have a responsibility to fight against gender-based violence.
You were talking about your children, and you're a mother of 4. I'm a mother of 2. Tell me more about your kids, your motherhood journey, and using your advocacy on gender-based violence, how that shaped you to raise them and kind of their view.
That question is, they raised me.
Tell me about that.
Being a mother of young adults is a challenge to me. First, I really believe that motherhood is the best lesson of humility. We have to question ourselves to raise children. We have to question ourselves with our ideologies, principles. Are they right? Are they wrong? Are they adapted to the world in which we are raising our kids? So if I look at myself with my 4 adult kids, it's not adult kids, so crazy, those so strange children. They are the one who teach me what are the modern issues, what is the best posture to have strong conversations regarding gender-based violence, regarding economic development, regarding how we have to live together in a society, regarding the speech, the right of speech, the right to be, freedom of rights. They challenge me strongly. And I think I'm a far better person, a far better civil servant because of them. So, but we have to have the courage to have a real and authentic dialogue with them and listen to them, listen to their preoccupation and find our ways. And sometimes they will be able to say, oh, I haven't seen the way I haven't understood the way you think. And sometimes we have to remind them from where we are coming.
Very true. That's beautiful. My kids, Kyle and Cassidy, they same. They teach me a lot. They humble me. I agree with you there, and they've taught me so much. My daughter is extremely compassionate, always concerned about the world, always thinking about everyone else. And my son, very selfless as well. And so they make me a better person, and they also challenge me to be a better parliamentarian in all aspects of my career and also my personal life too. So our kids help shape, our experience. And so for Canadians who are listening, whether they are survivors, family members, frontline workers, what supports do you think are most essential for healing and rebuilding?
To heal, to overcome what's difficult in life, I think it needs a community, family, friends, and it's really important to also help those who are alone. When I was young in Quebec, there was always tea in the teapot, soup on the stove, and a bench for those who were wandering by themselves. And I think that culture, that approach made us a more resilient community. And we have to keep our heart and mind open to accept that there's some people different from us and that they want to form a community with us.
Yeah, I grew up in a Filipino household. It's all about family, food, and those values that are very important to kind of bring us together. And my favorite memories growing up were always whenever I reconnected with my family at the dinner table. That is where I got a lot of help. Friends, you mentioned friends, your community, all of that. I mean, I've had my own personal experiences too. It was very difficult and challenging being a woman in the corporate world, working up my way through the corporate ladder. It was very difficult starting a new business and trying to do that on my own. Who was there for me? It was always family and my really close friends. So I think the importance of making sure that we stay connected to our community helps us get through challenging times. So merci. And as a Member of Parliament and Secretary of State for Nature, do you see intersections between your work in government, your advocacy as far as ending gender-based violence, and your responsibilities in environmental stewardship? So maybe kind of share how you see your new world and the responsibilities you have, and share some perspective around that.
My life is one path. So finally, everything always intertwine. Right. You have a network, you have abilities, you have experiences, and then you put it in kind of a minestrone soup. And that soup has a great taste because it's full of many kind of experience. Oui. And so it's a bit how every experiences in my life are nourished one by the other.
Yeah, what a great minestrone soup is what you're describing. Exactly. Life is a mixture of all of our shared experiences. And the more experiences we have, it does make that recipe taste better in life. As we mark the 16 days of activism, what message would you like to share with Canadians, especially young women who may be listening?
I think that the most important thing to keep in mind is that equality, gender equality, is never a finished story. Never. Everywhere in the world. When I was 23, I told Mark Lipin that we were not feminist. And I really thought that first I could not say to myself that I was a feminist, because in my mind at that time I have never thought to be where I was. My feeling was that the doors were all wide open. But I realized in the years after that I am a feminist because of the way I live my life, because of the choice I make, not because of the fight I had to do. But 36 years after, looking at the state of the world, I know that we all have to be feminists if we believe strongly in gender equality. Look at what happens when there's a war situation. The first who lose are women and children. They lose safety, but they lose also their autonomy, their capacity. They lose everything. And to rebuild gender equality after those situations is very long and difficult.
I'm going to share a few stories. I met a sister from the Amazon. She came to Parliament Hill and she was sharing with me her stories of what women in the Amazon experienced, whether that's, the safety concerns that they have, them experiencing gender-based violence. I've traveled to the north, same thing with women and girls that are up there, particularly Indigenous women, 2S LGBTQI plus communities, a lot of hatred, a lot of violence, a lot of safety concerns. I've spoken to Francophone, Black, underserved communities. Women and girls, regardless of where you are in the world, what type of society or society you live in, we all experience it. And so the reason why I share that is because your words are completely true. We need to continue to always advocate for women equality, gender equality, and to ensure by doing that, to the 14 sisters that we lost, and to your point earlier, we honor them in the process of doing that. So I want to say thank you so much for being here, for having the courage to share your story and your experience. Your story is incredibly inspirational. You've clearly gone through a lot. And again, being able to see you and having your voice in Parliament is incredible. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here and for taking the time to share your story with us.
Merci.
Merci beaucoup.